Brief history of Northern and Southern dynasties. Liu Yu, a general from a humble background, rises to prominence through military skill. In 420 CE, Liu Yu deposes the Jin, founding the Liu Song dynasty. The new regime relies on military loyalty over the traditional prestige of great clans. Liu Yu orders the execution of the former Jin emperors to secure his lineage. This policy of kinslaughter becomes a brutal hallmark of the southern dynasties. Under Emperor Wen, the reign of Yuanjia brings a period of rare stability. The early Liu Song era sees a significant flourishing of Han culture. Emperor Wen launches ambitious expeditions to reclaim northern territory from the Wei. The northern expeditions end in failure, exhausting the state's vital resources. The failed wars leave the South vulnerable to devastating northern counterattacks. The South enters a cycle of short-lived regimes and recurring military usurpation. The dominance of the traditional Shijia aristocracy begins its long decline. By 439 CE, the Northern Wei unifies the north under the Shenbei Tuoba clan. Emperor Taiwu launches a major persecution of Buddhism after discovering rebels in temples. Empress Dowager Feng and Emperor Xiaowen begin sweeping reforms to centralize power. The Three Elders system allows the state to tax peasants directly, bypassing local lords. The Equal Field system, 485 CE, redistributes land to tax-paying farmers. Peasants pay the Ziyongdiao tax in exchange for their state-allotted land. Emperor Xiaowen mandates that the Shanbei elite adopt traditional Han clothing. Only the Han language is permitted in court. The native Shenbei tongue is banned. The imperial clan itself adopts Han surnames as part of the Sinicization policy. In 494 CE, the capital is moved to Luoyang, the historic center of Han culture. The Wei rulers use Buddhism and monumental grottos to project theocratic power. Artistic styles shift from Western Indic features to refined Han aesthetics. Emperor Wu of Liang dynasty begins his reign with frugality, leading to a period of great prosperity. The capital becomes a global hub for trade and Mahayana Buddhist study. Emperor Wu becomes a devout patron, promoting Buddhism as a tool for social welfare. State finances suffer as the clergy and their massive estates are granted tax-exempt status. Nearly half the population claims religious status to avoid taxes and forced labor. The emperor frequently retires to monasteries, abandoning his imperial duties. The court is forced to pay massive redemptions to buy the emperor back from the monks. The emperor's leniency allows his clansmen to commit crimes and escape punishment. Landscape poetry and the arts reach their zenith, masking growing structural rot. The southern economy becomes increasingly monetized through overseas trade. A deep rift grows between the elite ruling class and the struggling commoners. The arrival of a defecting northern general sets the stage for a southern catastrophe. Traditional Shanbei warriors are stationed at the remote six towns garrisons. The frontier guards feel marginalized and impoverished by the move to Luoyang. In 523 CE, the rebellion of the six garrisons plunges the north into anarchy. The brutal general Erzu Rong seizes the chaos to take control of the imperial court. Over 2,000 members of the Luoyang elite are butchered in the He massacre. By 535 CE, the northern Wei formally splits into eastern and western successor states. Gao Huan leads the eastern Wei, controlling the wealthier, more populous territory. Yuan Tai establishes the western Wei, facing a shortage of resources and manpower. The western Wei, northern Zhou, begins radical institutional reforms to survive. The nine-rank system still allows powerful families to monopolize high offices. A pragmatic new hybrid elite begins to form in the Western Wei heartland. Technological advancements like the stirrup continue to transform medieval warfare. The northern general Hojing rebels, exploiting friction between Liang princes. In 548 CE, the great southern metropolis of Jiankang is placed under a brutal siege. Famine and disease devastate the city's population during the prolonged siege. The city, once a center of 280,000 households, is reduced to smoking ruins. Emperor Wu of Liang dies of starvation while under house arrest by Ho Jing. The rebellion fundamentally breaks the power of the eminent Shizu gentry families. The Qin dynasty succeeds the Liang, but rules over a much smaller, broken land. The decline of the old aristocracy leads to the rise of new, localized military power. The South becomes a shadow of its former self, vulnerable to the rising North. Much of the refined culture of the southern dynasties is lost in the fires of war. The economic heart of the South is decimated by years of plunder and famine. The southern dynasties enter their final weakened stage before total collapse. The Fu Bing divisional militia system integrates military service with farming. This system shifts military control from local lords back to the central government. Northern Zhou's superior organization allows it to outpace its rivals. In 577 CE, the Northern Zhou destroys the Northern Qi, unifying the North. Yang Jin, a pragmatic member of the hybrid elite, rises to power as a regent. In 581 CE, Yang Jin usurps the throne and founds the Sui dynasty. Emperor Wen of Sui focuses on consolidation and stabilizing the food supply. The frontier is secured against the Turks, allowing focus on the south. The Sui builds innovative monster ships that can carry 800 soldiers each. In 588 CE, the Sui masses an army of over 518,000 troops for invasion. The southern Qin court remains complacent, relying on the river as a barrier. The final campaign to end the 4 centuries of division begins. The Sui navy easily overwhelms the neglected southern river defenses. In 589 CE, Sui forces enter the southern capital, ending the Qin dynasty. Nearly 400 years of political fragmentation conclude with this final surrender. China is reunified, merging northern military vigor with southern culture. Northern institutions become the structural blueprint for the new empire. The Sui adopts the sophisticated bureaucratic practices developed in the South. The imperial examination system begins to replace the old 9-rank pedigree system. Plans begin for the Grand Canal to link the northern and southern economies. The unified state governs a multi-ethnic, integrated cosmopolitan population. This synthesis of traditions creates the conditions for a coming golden age. The Sui paves the way for the Tang dynasty, which would perfect these systems. The era of division ends, leaving a legacy that would govern China for the next millennium.